thank you for coming, number one. It's great to be able to introduce this work to people and share a nice morning with friends. So I appreciate being here. If somebody asked you who had never heard music, explain to me music, it wouldn't be too long before you just go grab your instrument or go to the piano and try to give them actual music instead of talking about it. And in a similar vein, rather than talking at length about Feldenkrais, we're just going to do a lesson. The nature of the lessons are such, though, that there's a lot of chance for me to speak and to talk, and there's rest. So I'll fill in some gaps about what we're doing, what the approach is all about, and we'll see where the conversation takes us. But that being said, and because our time here together this morning is so short, we're going to do about a half an hour, I figured it would also be good to send you guys some other information. So Patricia, you found that email that I had sent, and you'll be able to forward that along?
Yes, I will send it out tonight.
So there's just a short little email, but it has some links to various online retailers who sell audio programs and books, various national Feldenkrais guilds that host sample lessons and have some descriptions, a biography of the man, etc. So if you are interested after today and you want to find out a little bit more, you'll have those resources available for you, okay? So let's begin. We're going to be seated throughout the whole lesson. And what I'd like you to do is come forward on the edge of your chairs so that you're unencumbered by the back of the chair and also mostly unencumbered by the arms that some of you have. And to begin with, what I'd like you all to do is just notice how you're sitting. I'm going to be asking questions directing your attention. Questions like, where is your head in space? Or are you sitting more on your left side than your right side? And when I ask these questions, a couple of things. One is, you are not compelled to answer. They're to direct your attention. If there's something interesting that you want to share, for sure, you can speak up. But the other thing is, don't feel any anxiety if you can't find the answer to what I'm asking. The point is never to actually answer it. It's just to direct your attention. So if I ask you, when you look up to the ceiling, does your nose veer more to the left or the right? And you just can't tell. It doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. Okay. So in this position, just notice where your head is in space, where it is relative to forward and backward, where it is over your pelvis. Notice the shape of your back, where are the parts of your back that are arched, where are the parts that are rounded? What's the shape of your neck? Feel your breath. What parts of yourself do you feel moving as you breathe? You may feel your abdomen. You may feel your sternum rise and fall. You may feel movement laterally, right, underneath your armpits or even the floating ribs in the back. And left and right, do you feel that you have more weight on one side of your pelvis than the other? And then just kind of a global awareness, where do you feel at ease? Do you have tension in your neck or your jaw? Where does your tongue sit inside of your mouth? Are you curling your toes or doing something with your left thumb? Okay, and then just let that go. Throughout the lesson, and this is generally true of all lessons, there's lots of rests. You pay attention, you move, you rest. And the rest is designed for several reasons, but one of them is it's a chance for our nervous system just to kind of resettle and bringing in a space for ease and relaxation so that the learning can really occur. When we're stressed, when we're at the limits of our ability, we might think we're achieving, but we're probably not learning, we're probably not refining, right? Just like the student who's playing too fast and making mistakes. Well, what are they learning? Well, we want to stay away from those points where, well, okay, we're not making mistakes, but where maybe we are being stressed out or we are challenging the limits of our comfort. We want to find where it's comfortable, we want to live there, and we want to expand it. Another little idea as we get set up here, I'd like you all to pretend to play your instrument. And if you're a singer, you can sub-vocalize You can vocalize. You can raise your palate. You can form the pitch in your vocal cords. And you don't have to make sound. You can do everything until then. And just continue to play something light, but notice, where is your head in space? Where's your distribution left and right? Where do you start to get tense? Where has something changed from where you were a moment ago? Is the representation of your imaginary instrument actually very similar to the real thing? Or are you playing very differently? Okay, and then that's rest from there. We'll come back to these. One of the things we tend to do is we make these initial impressions, and then after the session we go back and we see, well, what's shifted? What's changed? So now sitting forward, by the way, when we rest, if you ever feel you need to rest, even though I haven't invited you to, go ahead and rest. If we've done 5 repetitions and you're done, go lean back in your chair. You don't have to wait for a teacher's permission to do any of those things. In fact, part of this is developing an authentic personal volition as relates to effort and doing things. Okay, so begin to look up at the ceiling. And then look back down in front of you. And just do that several times. Look up to the ceiling. And kind of notice, where you look. Where's a comfortable spot for you to find? And as you continue doing this a little bit, notice, how are you involved? Do you feel any changing pressure on your feet? Or in the way your pelvis is resting on the stool? How about any changes in the shape of your back or the shape of your neck? How do you breathe? Do you find yourself inhaling as you're doing this or exhaling? Okay, leave that alone. It's another one of those initial impressions. And then we'll start the crazy. So looking forward with your face, begin to look down to the floor with your eyes. Just keep your head kind of level with the horizon. Look down toward the floor and then come back to the horizon. Very few things in Feldenkrais do we hold. Normally it's just you move, you come back. So look down to the floor. You're going to do this over the course of a second or two, and then take a break, and then look down again. Look up and look down. So just to the horizon and down to the floor. And you may notice the quality of that movement. For some of us, there's areas where our eyes will kind of jump past. For others, there's spots where we're smoothly tracking down. So just from the horizon down to the floor. Okay, and let that go and rest. One of most of the lessons that a person does in Feldenkrais tends to be lying on the floor. Sometimes on your side, sometimes on your back, sometimes on your front, sometimes rolling, sometimes somersaulting. There's all kinds of lessons. There's lessons where we are walking or sitting for sure. But I'd like to say, and just kind of give you the image, that a lot of it is when we're lying on our back. And the reason for that is that when we're upright, there's so much activity in our nervous system to keep us upright. I mean, the upright posture is inherently unstable, right? So our nervous system, our back muscles, our quote-unquote anti-gravity muscles are always operating to keep us from falling over. Well, we're gloriously constructed so we don't have to pay attention to that all of the time. But that background activity is there. When we lie on the floor, that's when all of that nervous activity, nervous system activity and musculature activity can go away so that we can be freed from a lot of our habits, because a lot of our habits are freed and tied up in how we relate to gravity. And one of the reasons I say this is because when you do one of these lessons on the floor and you roll around for a half hour, boy, can it be just the greatest thing. You get up and you walk and your mind is quieter and you've let go of these tensions. The seated lessons can be great. I tend to think they're generally not as revelatory. but they are better in certain circumstances. But if you explore some of those links and resources that I sent along with you, I think you'll find some that are in a lying down position that can be really great. Okay, come forward on your chairs again.